In the wake of England's win over Kosovo, an 8-goal thriller, well, maybe not a thriller, 5-3 it ended up, there's a lot of talk about whether the partnership between Michael Keane and Harry Maguire at the back, Craig, is good enough, letting in 3 goals against the Kosovans. What do you think?
In a nutshell, no. I think it's going to be England's big Achilles heel to try and solve. I think there's 2 things for England, I think. Centre of midfield and back 4, particularly the centre of the defence. Wide positions, fine. Forward players, fantastic, very exciting. And not just on the Kosovan second half, but, you know, there has been, I think it's well known that is a position that they need to figure out. And Gareth Southgate himself has, over his tenure as England manager, has tinkered with different formations, you know, to try and figure out the best partnerships. And I think ultimately he'd want to play a back 4 with 2 centre halves, but there is a possibility that the likes of Kyle Walker, who wasn't in the squad because he wanted to give Wan-Bissaka and Alexander-Arnold some game time, he could play in a back 3 potentially as a right-sided centre back. That's happened before. But if he wants to play a 4, you're kind of looking at John Stones and Joe Gomez as a potential partner rather than Michael Keane, in my opinion.
And so would you rather go with someone like Gomez, given the fact that at club level he's playing with UEFA Player of the Year?
Yeah, but he's not always playing. That's the problem, because Matip has played quite a lot and has played himself into some better form the last 6 months or so. End of last season, beginning of this season. I'm not saying Michael Keane's a good Premier League player, solid. But I think ultimately for me he's going to be a squad England player. If they've got an issue, he can come in, do a job, good at set pieces. But I think, depending what happens, I think the best player out of them all is John Stones. But John Stones is having his own issues at Manchester City. And he obviously has got to cut the mistakes out of his game. But with Aymeric Laporte out injured, he should get some game time. Now, if he's not getting game time at Man City with the injury to Laporte, it's a big problem for Gareth Southgate. And if Joe Gomez isn't getting game time in the position he wants to play because Joe Matip's playing well, that's a big problem as well. So those are the issues surrounding the England defence at the moment. Personally, I think Gareth wants 2 ball-playing centre-backs, and the best 2 ball-playing centre-backs coming out are Harry Maguire and John Stones. Arguably the quickest at covering the ground and more physical, certainly than John Stones, would be Joe Gomez. But I think certainly if you want centre-halves to be coming out, and that's the modern game these days, then in an ideal world I think he'd have John Stones playing every week at Man City and Harry Maguire playing every week at Man United, which we know he is. And that would, I think, formulate his partnership. And then he can tinker with it from there. I think Michael Keane will have to take a back seat, barring injuries.
Yeah, we've had 7 different partnerships at the back since the 12 games since the World Cup. And of course that back 3 featuring Harry Maguire and John Stones was exposed by Croatia tactically as well, which possibly points to why your point was that he wants to play with a flat back 4 perhaps. But as we look at it, Michael Keane and Harry Maguire has been the go-to option, and the first goals he conceded were those 3 against Kosovo.
Yeah, but I suppose you look at what you've got to factor in is who they've played against. You know, the strength of the teams that they've partnered against would for all the partnerships would determine. When you're making a judgment, you're not making a, you know, if we're playing the Faroe Islands and we keep a clean sheet, we're not making a judgment on centre halves. But if we play Spain, which England have in the last 12 months, and we play, you know, a Germany or the Nations League in the finals, which they did, then you can make a judgment. Michael Keane has not. He didn't have a great night. He made a mistake. I just feel at the Euros, where there'll be a lot of big tests, I think he might go back to a back 3, you know, because he's got the players in the wide positions and the wing back positions to get up and down, whether it be Chilwell, Rose, Wan-Bissaka, Alexander-Arnold, Kyle Walker. So I think he's got that option, and he might have to do that depending on who's fit. But yeah, that's going to be there. Listen, England will cause all the teams in the Euros they play, even the biggest, they will cause them no end of problems going forward. Sterling, Kane, Sancho, Rashford, et al. There's others. That's good news from England. The bad news is, I think the Achilles heel will cost them getting all the way to the finals of the Euros.
Just one final question for you. You brought this up at the very beginning about the midfield. Is there, if they can't solve the issues personnel-wise at the back, and you've gone through those issues as well, is there something to be said for tinkering with that midfield? Can he find better balance or better personnel in central midfield to help them defensively?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons we're seeing Declan Rice get some game time. Obviously, now that the whole saga of who he wants to play for, Republic of Ireland or England, is well and truly over. Well, it's over for him, and that's not over for some other people across the water. But I think that's, you've got him and Henderson, you've got others, but I think Declan Rice is doing that job at West Ham. I think Gareth Southgate wanted to get him in pretty quickly, like he did, I can't remember, a few months ago, a couple of months ago, to see how he's going to adapt, because he knows that back line needs protection. So you're absolutely right. Those are the kind of headache areas. Everything else for England is super easy to put forward. It's just getting the balance right there, which will determine how they do at the Euros. And I was going to say in what country, but in the Euros that is spread all around, just so as it makes people travel even more.
Absolutely. Okay, so we'll find out then what Gareth Southgate's next plan of attack is when he gets the games in October against Czech Republic and Bulgaria. As it stands, halfway through the qualifying programme, more than half the job done, but still a few worrying niggles at the back.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week, subscribe to ESPN+.